Hello, everyone. My name is Moshe Nave, and I'm an SAP Community Advocate. Welcome to today's SAP Community Call. Today we have Kavita Sivakumar and Alex Dumont to talk about effortless development of cloud-native application on SAP BTP. Kavita, please take it away.
Thank you, Moshe. Hi, everyone. A warm welcome from my side as well, for those of you who are joining us today. So let's get started and learn about how to build cloud-native applications on SAP BTP quite effortlessly using the SAP Cloud SDK for Java. Now, the SAP Cloud SDK comes in two variants. It has both Java and JavaScript variant, but for the purpose of this presentation, we are looking at the Java variant. Let's get started with the agenda for today. First, I will start with a sample application architecture and walk you through what are the different things that you should take care of as developers if you're trying to build a cloud-native application and deploying to BTP. And then I'll show you how the SAP Cloud SDK usage simplifies this a lot for you so that you can just focus on your business logic. And moving on, I'll also talk about various other features that the SAP Cloud SDK provides. And then we'll talk about a major version that we have, the SDK v4, and all the different major improvements that we did as part of the major version. And then we'll move on to the demo, which would be the favorite part of all developers, I think. And so the demo would be handled by my colleague Alex here, who will first show you who will first start an application that does not contain the SAP Cloud SDK. And then he'll introduce and show you how easy it is to introduce SAP Cloud SDK into your pre-existing application, and also show you the way that you could migrate to the latest version, which is also very easy and can be done pretty easily. So let's get started. Now, the architecture that I'm focusing on is of an application which is being deployed in BTP. And you are trying to, inside your application, you're trying to consume an OData service. I hope you can, yeah. So you're trying to consume an OData service. For simplicity, let's say that it's an SAP S4HANA OData service. Now, if you want to consume a service inside BTP, all of you would know that you should create a destination. And for this, so this is basically just an abstraction in BTP. And to ease accessing a destination, we also have a SAP destination service. So in your application, you would also need to touch base with the SAP destination service if you want to consume an OData service. Other than that, you might also have an application router. Now, this is not as part of an application, it's a standalone part. So this just helps you with authenticating your users. So this will provide a valid JOT to your application. So it just helps you with the authentication. So it's a good to have. Now, what are the different possible hidden complexities that you may have in such a scenario? First, the SAP S4HANA OData service that you want to consume could be a cloud or an on-premise service. Now, since SAP Destination Service is a service on BTP, accessing it needs an authenticated access. And you could also have multiple destinations. For example, depending on the authentication flows that they have, you could have client credential or auth2 based authentication destination, or also a simple basic auth. So in your application, you should also be aware that there are multiple destinations that you could talk to or interact with. And then finally, your application could also be a multi-tenant application. And on top of that, in BTP, you also have a lot of environments, right? You have CF, Kubernetes, Schema, Gartner, and whatnot. So you have a lot of complexities, even if you want to consider creating a cloud-native application and deploy it to BTP. So you have to look at so many things. Now, for simplicity, again, let's say that you are just looking at an SAP S4HANA Cloud OData service, and you would obviously have to interact with the destination service. And let's assume that you're deploying the application to CF. Now, to write this code in Java, if you use it without any library that helps you out, you have to write a lot of code here, as you can see on the left-hand side of my screen. first you have to, since I already told you the destination services, you have to have an access token to access the destination service. So you first have to interact with Access UAA, get an access token, and then interact with the destination service to actually fetch the destination. And once you fetch the destination, you also have to parse it, read the headers, the authorization headers from the destination. And also, finally, the last part is where you are building your business logic. So this is the OData service that you want to call, right? And you can see that you have also, suppose you have to add system query options here. This is very error prone because you're just creating a string here. So finally, after all of this boilerplate code, you are building your query against the OData service and adding all the information that you obtain from the destination, like the URL, the auth token. And even after you call the actual service, you have to parse the response to actually get out the results that you're looking for. Now, if you choose to use SAP Cloud SDK, all of this would be simplified into just 2 lines of code. The first line is just to fetch the destination for you quite conveniently. And the second line is here. This is a special case because for SAP S4HANA, we have our pre-generated clients. So this is a pre-generated typed client that we use to build a query. Now, with these, if you use the SAP Cloud SDK, you are simplifying the code. But on top of that, you also get many built-in qualities. Just a second. Sorry. Yeah, built-in qualities like resilience, error handling, caching. We also cache destinations for you in a tenant isolated manner. So we also take care of multi-tenancy. I mean, the code remains same even if you want to connect to an on-premise destination. This is also platform agnostic. So the code remains same even if you're deploying to other BTP environments like Kubernetes, for example, and it's also very type safe. Now, other than that, let me show you one cool feature. Since we have pre-generated clients, if you use this in your IDE, you can leverage the code completion to write queries, quite complex queries, by using all the different system options that system query options that the OData service provides. And you will also not make any mistakes because, come on, you're using the code completion features here, right? So the query is very type safe and it's also very easy. Even a complicated query is very easy to write. Now, what is the value proposition that we bring you for you developers? So first is, like I showed you, we provide a set of pre-generated typed client libraries. The example that I showed you was for the business partner service and for the SAP S4HANA Cloud business partner OData service. So we also have certain pre-generated type client libraries for certain SAP BTP services and also SAP S4HANA, both cloud and on-premise. Now, if you want to consume any OData or OpenAPI service and you don't find a pre-generated client for it from us, you could also use our generators that we provide to create your own typed client libraries, which will make development more easy for you. And as I already showed you, we can also help you in conveniently consuming SAP BTP services like destination, connectivity, access UA, etc. Now, what are the features that we bring in? So the destination handling has become quite easy now. You saw that it's just one line of code to access a destination. So destination fetching is quite easy. We take care of caching the destination for you. And the caching is also tenant isolated. So you don't have to think about it or take care of it yourself. Secondly, you don't need to worry about authentication types that are concerned with the destination. We do this implicitly for you because of our interaction with the destination service. And also, again, as I told you, for connectivity also, if you want to talk to the connectivity service, for example, if you want to connect to an on-premise service, you will definitely need to talk to the connectivity service on top of the destination service. So this is also implicitly handled by us if you use us for creating your applications. So to summarize, this is a big box of features that we have. If you are consuming an OData or OpenAPI service, we give you a lot of pre-generated clients, especially for SAP S4HANA, both cloud and on-premise out of the box. We have a lot of, we have generators for both OData and OpenAPI to create your own typed client libraries for any OData or OpenAPI service for that matter. We also have convenience APIs and low-level API. Now, the low-level API is just a wrapper on top of the HTTP client. And this could be used if you have some advanced use cases which are pre-generated client or the generated client doesn't suffice. You could use the low-level API for this. Again, we provide convenient ways to access or consume SAP BTP services like destination, connectivity, workflow, etc. And we provide cloud native qualities to your application. We take care of resilience. We also have a resilience API that you could use to execute queries of your own or to execute code of your own. We provide caching and multi-tenancy out of the box, and we also support various environments of BTP like CF, Kubernetes, Schema, and also Neo for now. But with our major version, with our next major version, we would probably not helping you out with Neo. It's time to move to CF, we think. And with that, that's all I had to talk about the features that we already have. And I want to talk about the latest SAP Cloud SDK v4, which is a new major version, which has been available for around 4 months now. And I'll tell you what cool new features we have in addition to the cool features that I already showed you. The first one is a very convenient dependency management. So we made our SDK quite lightweight by throwing away a lot of transitive dependencies that originally the SAP Cloud SDK brought to your project if you used our BOM. So it's quite lightweight now. And if you use our BOM, it is very easy to manage dependencies and reduce the scope of dependency conflicts. And if you are using SAP Java Buildback and using a WAR deployment, you could also use a specific SAP Java Buildback BOM that we have now to reduce your dependency conflicts. We also improved our destination retrieval API a lot by reducing the number of calls we make to the destination API, destination service. We also improved the cache performance. Now caching is done for destinations, and the isolation is determined based on what type of authentication flow is supported by the destination. We also have very convenient asynchronous execution now. Out of the a lot of improvements that we made, some major improvements were creating a new API for running async tasks. We also integrate quite well with CAP, Access UAA, and yeah. So these are just few. I'm just highlighting few improvements that we did as part of the asynchronous executions, but we did work on a lot for this major version. And finally, we also improved our integration to Kubernetes, Schema, and Gartner environments, because currently now we started using the SAP Service Binding Library. Now, this is a platform agnostic library for reading environment variables. So because of that, we also have an improved integration for this environment. With that, I gave a quick rundown of why you should use SAP Cloud SDK and what are the new latest features we have as part of version 4. Now, I pass it on to Alex to give you a demo of what I explained. Alex, please take it over from here.
Very well. All right. So let's take a look at the original example again. Kavita showed us there's lots of code that you would need to write in order to interact with an S4 system OData service. Let's take this example here. We have a Spring application, and for that we want to query the OData service by some destination name, and we want to get some business partners and their addresses where the last name matches business partners. And for that also, we want to make sure that our current authorization token may be propagated. Yeah, and the result would be some business partner addresses. That's a very artificial example. It's just to show you what you would. That's the most basic example that you could come up. Of course, in production, your logic would be much more complicated. So the same code that we've seen a few moments ago, we get a destination service token with lots of URL construction. We parse the destination properties. Again, lots of code construction. And the actual OData request is also constructed by yourself. And you see, I really want to emphasize there are so many ways on how you could fail your URL construction, and so many ways how you may confuse one special character over another. So yeah, I myself also found myself in difficult situations when in the past when I wrote those queries. So I really know it can be quite difficult to handle this information. And of course, in the end, you need to pass the response where you have to work with the quirks and very strange behavior of OData. So you have to know some detailed expert knowledge in order to pass and work with OData and OpenAPI responses. Okay, but that's so much code, and we are here for the Cloud SDK presentation, and I want to show you how Cloud SDK would much improve this situation here. First off, Cloud SDK's product shipped to Maven Central. So that's a dependency that you can add to your source code. So what you want to do is look into our POM file. This POM file lists all dependencies that you have in your current application. Nothing that you should be surprised by here. And now let's add 2 dependencies here. Those are 2 from Cloud SDK. Let's zoom in a bit. We want, for our example, stay on Cloud Foundry for the moment. So we have our platform-specific implementation of our platform abstraction here first. And the second one is to handle our business partner pre-generated client and to actually use it. So you will notice, for some reason, the version tags are here missing. And the reason for that is we are recommending to use dependency management. So of course you can now write your own version here, but you find yourself in there's a possibility that you mix up dependencies. So this is what you would want to avoid. So this is why we introduced the bill of material, and for that you can look into your dependency management section. Here you can, if you're familiar with Spring, you obviously know, so Spring also provides you some ways to deal with dependency management and dependency versions. You could just now add our Cloud SDK bomb. What it does is it gives you the correct versions that make sure that everything in the application works well together. The compatibility is working for all parts of the application. And obviously, Cloud SDK is managed by that as well. For our comparison and for demonstration purpose, let's take an older version 3 of Cloud SDK. In a few moments, we will show you how an update to version 4 would look like. And now that we have Cloud SDK as part of our product, we can actually use it in our business code. So I will just write a few lines of code here into, and what you will see right from the start is we have the pre-generated client. So there is a business partner service. Business partner service. Let's call it service. Okay. Now that's an interface, and you can instantiate it yourself. You can use dependency injection. For simplicity, let's instantiate it ourselves. So we have our own business partner service here. And now with the business partner, now that gets interesting, we can actually get all business partners. There are many, many other functions on our OData, on this OData component that for which we provide the API here. But for simplicity reason, let's use a get all business partner, and that's almost the code. So of course we want to execute that. So let's run the execute request. You will notice that execute request would need an argument. So it requires some destination. So let's add a destination here and creating a local variable. Okay, let's keep it there for a moment and let's see what would be the result. It's our list of business partners. So not bad, business partners. Okay. We are almost there already. We don't want to get all business partners without any filters. We want to make this a bit more, let's give it a bit more complexity. So let's add a selection. Why not a selection statement? So we want to only return the result of some specific fields. Since we are interested in the business partner addresses, let's take that business partner dot to business partner address. So this will be expanding a navigation property in OData and will make sure that all fields of this address will be part of your response. Since we want to filter for the last name, let's add that as well. Filter, and we can just write down last name dot equals last name. There we have it. So that's almost there. My personal recommendation is to not get all possible entities. Let's give it a limit. Let's take 100 for now. You can obviously construct and customize the query as you want. So there are many options to manipulate your OData request. So we have a destination. Now, the destination name has nowhere been mentioned yet. So let's make sure the destination name actually is being used. And for that, let's resolve our destination. And that's very easy. So what you would need to do is use our very cool destination accessor. And with that, you can just get the destination, stick destination name, and destinations may use different protocols. And we are interested in HTTP protocol. So that would be that. You're getting a destination by name. We're interpreting it as an HTTP destination, and we resolve business partners. That's pretty much the code already. Just a minor thing, we want to get the addresses, not the business partners themselves. So let's quickly make that clear. And this would be here. So it's a bit of a shortcut. We have a business partner address. That is our list of those addresses is our result, and we will return it. We will iterate over the business partners and get the business partners, or if it's not available, we will fetch this information. And by that, the code is complete and we can remove everything below, everything that we did before. You will notice there is no custom string construction, custom URL construction. The margin for error is very low. So you can almost not, you're not able to generate a broken OData request that way. It's quite convenient. Let's update our possible exceptions. And there's one check exception being thrown in OData exception. If you want to catch it, it will contain any errors for that may happen during this interaction. So you can even look into HTTP error codes, into HTTP error text and the HTTP body. So this is a very powerful exception type here. Minor update on our API. It's no longer a list of objects. We have a list of business partner addresses. So here we go. That's it. That's the code. And that's already very fine. One thing that you may have noticed, now we're looking at destination name and last name, but the authorization is not yet handled. Some applications, for example, for which you want to propagate the user or you want to make a token exchange, it's necessary to deal with the authentication or authorization token that is coming from your request. You can leave it away. However, you have to make sure then if you want to leave it away, you would need to make sure that the Cloud SDK is registered as a servlet component. This would look something like this. SAP Cloud SDK, and you would be done. So now with that, every aspect of your original Spring Boot controller is also part of this code here. And now the happy part is here removing all imports that you no longer need. We have a very ordered class now. Of course, with fewer lines of code, the error of margin and the possible faults is obviously dropping. So this will hopefully your application becomes more stable. You also get some transitive features, as Kavita already mentioned. So multi-tenancy is being handled here internally, caching, and other resilient features. So very convenient and very easy. Now, the last part, which you are wondering, okay, Cloud SDK 3, I thought this is about Cloud SDK 4. That's now the fun part. updating is as simply as just updating the BOM file. So we are at version 9 already. Let's use that. So 4.9, and you would be done. That is for most applications, that's the only change. For our use case here, one update is that our checked OData exception is now an unchecked OData exception. You can just remove it, and also from the imports, and that's it. So very minor changes are necessary to switch between versions. This is one of our key motivations for updating major versions of the Cloud SDK, to keep the migration effort as low as possible while still giving you all the features and all the benefits by default. Okay, and an additional cool outcome is with Cloud SDK, you can now also remove some of your dependencies. So you don't need serialization or deserialization anymore. You don't need to consume HTTP requests. All done. So you see even your dependency footprint, your explicit dependency footprint is shrinking. So that's also a good sign. Yeah, so depending on the time, we could go into testing, but I think we can also continue. If you're interested, we will in a moment also link you to our public documentation, where we have good ideas on how to easily test this code. Obviously, the original code is almost impossible to test with all the calls. So even Cloud SDK makes it easier for you to test and verify your application. All right, and with that, I would give back to Kavita. If you have questions to the code or to any specific feature, please feel free to also ask the question in the chat. Yeah, you can also approach us offline, of course.
Sure. Thank you, Alex. Let me just start the screen share again. Okay, so after the cool demo, I just wanted to talk about the bigger picture on where the SAP Cloud SDK fits as part of the SAP solution portfolio. So you can use us for building any cloud native application or extension under the hood inside any framework. So you can use this under Spring Boot or also even SAP Cloud Application Programming Model. And you could use us to call any of the SAP LOB solutions like HANA, which we already demonstrated, SuccessFactors, Qualtrics, Ariba, etc. Also, you could choose to deploy the application inside any of the supported BTP environments like CF, Kubernetes, Klarna, or Kima, for that matter. And to sum up, I think our vision statement sums up what we do quite efficiently. So we like to simplify integration with SAP systems to give developers space to focus on business logic. So with that, I also want to remind you that we continuously update our features. And so we are always up to date with BTP, with integrating with BTP and its related services and frameworks. And with that, I think we come to the end of the presentation. So I would like to urge you to take a New Year's resolution for easing developer experience within your team. And to aid in that New Year's resolution, please make use of SAP Cloud SDK. You will see that it frees up a lot of time for you to just focus on your business logic. With that, we can open for questions.
Thanks a lot, Kavita and Alex, for a great presentation and demo. Let's give people another couple of seconds to ask questions either in the chat, or we'll close the call for today. So I think we're good at closing the call. So thanks again for a great call. The recording.
Moshe, just a second before we close. I also wanted to show the various channels that you could use to reach out to us. So you could use any of the channels listed here, or we have also linked our documentation portal that Alex hinted about. which contains very detailed documentation. So if you're interested to read up on Cloud SDK, I recommend that you go through our documentation, which is quite up to date as well. With that, I think, Moshe, you can take it over.
Thanks a lot. So thanks again for this SAP Community call and presentation today. The recording will be available in the SAP Community channel. I wish all of you a great day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Goodbye.